Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from Artanian TV. Another game of Interplanetary I Spy going on here. Back to Mars. We are not in Gale Crater. We are looking at high-rise images from the high-rise camera from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, which are mainly on Flickr here. Now, you can go to the main Flickr page or just type in high-rise Flickr and it will come up. Or you can follow the links below and just click on that. I will also have links to the official page here on the official NASA site. But this is a little bit harder to navigate. But what this does give you is much higher resolution images as well. Some of them are huge, like a whole gigabyte. And it also gives you a little bit more information on the images. But disappointingly, many of these images do not have a very good explanation. And some of them are very odd, like this one. Which has these lovely colours, but also has these scars all over it. Now, we have filmed tornadoes or dust devils, whatever you want to call them on Mars, little miniature tornadoes, really. I've got this video here, which we may like to see. I'll show a bit of it now, actually. It's a short video. It's pretty cool because it's moving footage from Mars, even though it's a very slow frame rate. They were still photographs basically taken a few seconds apart, and then he'd been put together in a little short film, which I then borrowed from NASA for the purposes of closer inspection. And you can see the twister going along here. It's not very clear. They're fairly low resolution images. This is Gale Crater, taken by the Curiosity rover. It actually looks better when you see this angle, I think. You can see it up here moving along. It's a very slow frame rate, so it's not great quality, but of course, if it was a faster frame rate, it would look smoother. This isn't particularly good at all, actually. I think it gets better towards the end here. Here we are. You see one here just about. Yeah, it's pretty faint. Like I said, the images are not great quality, but they do leave scars. Now, these leave little tracks behind them sometimes, depending on what's on the ground. Often you get sand on the surface, which may only be, sand and dust may only be a few inches thick, and then the harder kind of rocky surface underneath. And then often they leave a trail. I don't know if that gets any clearer. Is that slowed down? You can see that, you can actually see it. Yeah, there we go. You can see it now, there we go. Yeah, that's the better one. I think I gave it a load of contrast so it would show up more. There it is. And it's not dotting around like that, that's just a gap in the frame rate. Okay, well that's not a great example, but we don't have many examples of moving footage on the Mars surface of anything. Nearly all the images that have been taken so far are still images. Of course, these can be animated in a sort of film sequence, but it doesn't look very good. If we had better cameras on the thing, then that would help, and a higher frame rate. But basically, what I'm going to show you, I'm just going to quickly show you a folder I've got up here, and there's some very odd images here. And when you look on the actual NASA page, they don't really have a very good explanation, if any, about what these images represent. And so these are some of my favourites. I will put a lot of these in at the end of the video, not all of them, but I'll put some of them in, some of my favourites, and I will put the image number on the page so you can just look it up quickly, and I'll try and provide links to most of these, or if not all of them as well, below in the description. But this one here was the one that really got me. I mean, what on earth? This looks like a snowy, kind of icy field of, I don't even know. I mean, I'm still almost speechless about this. Now, are these caused by dust devils? They may well be. But there's very little explanation to this image, and it almost looks as if, let me show you the full size version. I did an image search for it here. I actually typed in the name of the image. I didn't type it in, I copied it from the image and then pasted it into there, and it came up. And it says high-rise sand dunes, PSP, blah, 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 12 something, yeah, okay. And when you click on this, it's like, right, okay, it doesn't look much until you zoom in, and it's like, what the hell is going on here? Now, you have these kind of dune areas here, icy dunes. Now, NASA used the term icy dunes to explain an awful lot of very odd-looking things on Mars. And they don't really take any time to try and explain things like this, where you have these incredible scars on the surface of Mars. And they all sort of crisscross. It reminds me of a sort of kid's kind of crayon drawing, you know, where a young child of sort of 3 or something has just got some crayons and just scribbled loads and loads of blue and black crayons across a piece of paper. Like I probably did when I was 2 or 3. Very odd indeed. And they're following a pattern here. See, look at that. Very odd. The way they cluster together. Really, I'll come back to this in a bit, and I'll see if I can find out some more information about it. For now, I'll carry on, and we'll have a quick look at some of these. When you go on the main page here, this is the photo stream, and it's really cool, and it's a lot quicker to look through than the actual official NASA page. You can just kind of scroll down and then think, wow, that looks cool, and then click on whichever image you like, and it gives you a choice of sizes to look at. And here's another one that's similar, also a very stunning image. It's really quite amazing. You've got all these scars here, probably caused by dust devils, but it looks kind of like art, like abstract art, like you would see in an art gallery. It really is quite amazing. And let me show you some more of these a minute. I've got some of these in here already. But the problem is there really isn't much information that comes with them. And of course, when you go on the... Hang on, let's go back to that page a minute. When you go on the official page, it would just say a very short, monitoring dune avalanche slopes. Okay, that's all you get. And that's probably all you're going to get if you click on the actual high-rise link here. Yes. Mass wasting processes. Okay, that's what it says. That's all you get. I mean, it doesn't attempt to explain why these scars look the way they do and why they're shaped like they are and in clusters like they are. And I do recommend you go for the 4K image with the TIFF here. And often you do get a little bonus clip, which is like there's an MP4 there. That may explain them. Let's click on that actually, see what happens. Is it going to play? These don't often play straight away, and you often get sound problems with them. No, it's not playing. Go back. I'll see if I can find out a bit more about these, because there's bound to be some hidden information somewhere. But NASA are very strategically vague, as I've said before, and are very good at kind of archiving stuff without really letting you know what it is, and without letting anyone know where it is. You've really got to know these websites quite well to find anything and cross-reference anything. Here's another one. Lovely colours, but you've got all these scars across it. I'll put some of these in at the end, of course, and I'll heighten the contrast a bit so you can see them better. I mean, they're quite beautiful. I mean, they really are like artwork. And you've got some of these craters, these icy dunes. This is one of my favourites, this one. Really beautiful. Look at these structures here. Absolutely amazing. And even when you zoom in there, you can see individual dunes here. Little dune kind of marks in the sand. Really amazing. Absolutely wonderful. I mean, if only all Mars images were that good. So yeah, we have all sorts of stuff here, and there was this image, which was one of my favourites that I found. I stumbled upon a couple of years ago, and it's been sitting here for a long time. And this is great, but you've got these very uniform looking kind of squares and rectangles in here, in the rock. And they look really cool, especially if you flip it to negative, like I've done here. You zoom in, you can see all these linear rectangle formations along here. Very interesting. And just beautiful. I mean, I'm not saying there are buildings in any of these. I haven't found any in any of these actual images we have here, but some of them do look like organics on the surface. Now, of course, Mars has got it's very cold most of the time, and it only kind of defrosts occasionally in the summer. Although the summers are very long, 6 months long. So you know, it's debatable whether there's liquid water on Mars. I know I go on about this a lot, but it is very important to realise that some of this stuff is unfrozen some of the time, and this may be an example of organic growth, some kind of algae or something on here. I mean, it's just amazing the amount of detail you get in some of these images. Let's have a look at this one again. That's the close-up of it, and it really does look like somebody at NASA has taken a photograph of Mars and then their kids drawn on it with a crayon or a piece of charcoal or something. But when you go in close, you can actually see that that's not what it is. I mean, these are actual scars. Perhaps these are caused by carbon dioxide, dry ice again, rolling along the surface as it kind of melts or evaporates or whatever it's supposed to do. Just crazy, and it really still perplexes me when I look at some of this stuff. I mean, some of these things are pretty obvious when you look at them. You've got this mountain top here with a very gold-looking top to it there, and evidence of melt water coming down here in flow patterns down the edge of the mountain. I mean, that's fairly obvious. I mean, you know, you don't need to be a PhD doctor of physics to work that one out. And we've got these smaller dunes here, which are really nice little shapes here, and nice and abstract looking, really cool. And these kind of worm-like, slug-like patterns, which are dunes again, but yeah, some of these dunes really are really incredible. Of course, the fact that Mars has a lower gravity than us, 38% of ours, does mean that dunes can form in sort of probably higher mounds than they would on Earth, because the gravity isn't pulling them down so much, perhaps. And also the very high winds, even though there's very little air pressure there, the high winds can sculpt them in really beautiful shapes, and they're often very uniform, like these are. They're not exactly the same, but they're extremely similar. But I would ask, often with a lot of these things, like you see it in some of the images I've shown recently of what look like buildings near the North Pole of Mars, in the North Polar region. They may well be dunes, but you have to ask what these dunes are formed on. Here's a good example here. I mean, these look very uniform, but they're not actually uniform. They just look a bit uniform. But these are quite beautiful. The shapes in here, they really are stunning. That's a really nice one. I just love the shapes in here. I mean, I've done sculpture and art for many years. I don't do it so much now, but years ago, I was a professional artist and used to do portraits, but I also made sculptures and stuff. And I just appreciate these shapes, you know, and some of them really are. There's more of these scars on here, in here, and they're not so prominent. But look at the shapes of this. I mean, it's just insane. Absolutely amazing. Really cool. But yeah, like I was saying, we don't fully understand all the processes on the Mars surface, and it'd be silly to say that we did. But scientists are very good at pretending they know everything until you ask them an awkward question, and then they sort of stumble a little bit and give you some kind of dogma that they were taught themselves at school, probably. But this is also this is just an amazing image. This one, absolutely stunning, black and white, unfortunately, but the detail in here is unbelievable, and it's just incredible. So I'll put links below for all of these, as usual, all the main ones that I've shown here, and I'll put some in a bit of a slideshow in a minute, so you can really have a proper look. And I'll see if I can find more explanations to some of this stuff. Here's more of those scars, similar, but look how they cluster. Now, it may be, of course, that they look clustered because there's more sand in this area, and then there's not much sand here, or dust. And one of these dust devils is kind of travelled all the way along here and then come all the way through here. And you can just about make out here that actual line there, it carries on, but it gets just more faint here. So that's probably due to the thickness of the material on the ground. And you can actually follow the track very carefully, and it'll go through all the way through to here, and it kind of goes up here and up there. And so you may have one coming right across this landscape, but only scarring prominently in parts where there's darker material below the surface dust and sand, which is then disturbed, leaving a kind of an almost kind of like a pencil-like or chalk-like mark on paper. You know, it's just crazy. I mean, that's my explanation. I mean, that's probably, I don't know, it's probably true, but some of them, the way they cluster on this image, it still doesn't make a great deal of sense. But I mean, you can see some coming from one cluster to another. Like this bit over here, it comes, I don't know if you can see that, just here, if you follow my cursor. It gets very faint and thinner there, and then it kind of goes right into there. And it may well even come out the other side. If I could be bothered, I could probably track it, but it's just a very unusual looking effect on the surface, and doesn't make a lot of sense initially, but when you actually start looking at these a bit more carefully, as with many things on Mars, they start to make a little bit more sense. But nonetheless, very interesting, and please leave your comments below if you have any other explanations to what these may be or may not be. Then please leave a comment below. I always welcome your comments. There's just so many amazing images here. I mean, which is my other favourite one. I mean, some of them don't have anything to do with that at all. This is just another high-rise image of a cave, kind of cave entrance, which I thought was really cool. You've got these layers of strata here, and then you've got this kind of flatter part at the bottom here, and it goes into this hole, like a cavern. And the question is, how far does that cavern go? Does it stop there? It may even carry on further back. But I thought that was rather nice. And another example of amazing, beautiful colours, blue colours on the surface of Mars. Mars is not red. Much of it is blue, and I actually think that much of the blue stuff that you see on Google Mars are ocean beds with blue volcanic sand. And of course you have huge volcanoes like Olympus Mons on Mars, which probably threw up dark coloured sand, and you see this all over the surface of Mars, and it looks like oceans until you get closer. Because of course sand dunes do make very ocean-like patterns and wave-like patterns, and act very much like a liquid, as I've said before, and from space can often look like water, but they don't have the reflective. Not usually. I mean, sometimes they do have the reflective properties of water, depending on what the ice is constituted of. I mean, the sand. Often it's frozen sand and may have ice or frost on it, which may reflect, like we have here, may reflect more than the standard kind of matte looking sand. So it would have a kind of shiny look to it. I mean, this does look like water, but it's sand apparently. But you do have to take some of the NASA explanations, which are very vague, with a bit of a pinch of salt, as I've said before. They don't always give an explanation, and the ones they do give often are very, very short and really don't explain the image properly at all, in my opinion. But their main purpose is to just take the photographs and archive them, and they don't often explain them in any great detail. And often when they do, they leave out a lot of details that are in the image and don't even mention them. There's more of these scars here, but they're a lot more faint on this one. But what a beautiful image. I mean, look at that. I mean, unbelievable. Well, absolutely beautiful. So you can have a lot of fun with this site. I'll leave the link near the top so you can find it. Yeah, I mean, you can just flick through. I mean, there's just amazing stuff to look at. And you can either flick through like this and just go from one image to another, which will show you them in a big size, you know, a good size. Or you can look at the main page. You can go back to the photo stream and just scroll up and down and have a look at them that way. But the thing to do is when you've found an image you really like the look of, let's find another nice one here, a nice colourful one. Which one should we pick? Let's go to that one. I mean, once you've found an image and you want to download it, if you want it larger, of course, all you have to do is follow the link here and it will take you to the official page. This one's actually got more of an explanation. Occasionally they do, but most of them don't. But then you get all the different sizes here. You get the 4K, 8K, that's one I would go for. And then you get the ridiculously large, huge 700-800 megabyte sort of size ones here, which are JP2s, and you can't open them unless you've got a certain program to do that with. So I recommend the Flickr site because not only is it quicker to look through it this way, you just get a better sense of what you're looking at because you're not just seeing part of the picture, you're seeing the whole thing. And they really are quite amazing. A lot of them are in black and white and are fairly boring. There's more scars on this one. Look, you'll see these lines coming through here. And then there was this. This was cool. And in fact, the explanation that comes with it is pretty funny. Parabolic crater ejector. Interesting that these impact craters have their ejector, the dark portions, orientated in the same general direction. So they pointed it out, but have no real explanation for why the ejector seemed to be coming the same way, which is very coincidental, or does it mean there's something else going on in the image? Could well do. And if you not only do you have that sort of weird angle here, let's dig back a minute, you've got that straight angle coming along that way and then angling down, you've got the same going on here. So what the hell happened there? How did that happen? Perhaps these landed at the same time, but what are the chances of that? I really don't know how to explain that, and it seems that they don't either. There's no explanation. So many of these images are unexplained and very hard to work out. So I do recommend it. Here we go. There's the official page. There'll be a link to that. There'll be a link to this image. This is the main image, which is unbelievably crazy looking. But I think the Dust Devil explanation is probably true, but it still puzzles me the way they cluster like this. Why would it do that? I mean, it may be something to do with the contours of the ground and how the wind kind of reacts with the topographical features or something like that, but weird. I mean, look how they sort of come around like this. They got that kind of shape there, and that one's got the similar shape there. Weird, weird, weird. Yeah, more weirdness from the planet Mars. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please leave your comments and witticisms below. Much appreciated, and please give the thumbs up and share on social media if you can. See you soon.